And so what's so special about M-City is it differs from a lot of test tracks that you would see at the automotive manufacturers because we do have a simulated city. We do have traffic lights. We can control the traffic lights. We have roundabouts. We have features that you wouldn't see at your typical test track. And we're able to do testing in a way that you're not able to do at a traditional test track. It's a one-of-a-kind, unique test facility, the only one in the world where we can do these repeatable, scalable tests on a simulated city. This capacity exists nowhere else in the world.
One of the challenges is the pace at which technology changes, right? Technology changes so fast. Our cell phones now, we get a 2-year contract because the technology changes in 2 years. From a public infrastructure perspective, whether you're a state, a county, or a city, we're used to building things that are in place for 20 or 30 years. And we put traffic signals in place and we don't go back to change them for 20 or 25 years. So when we're talking about technology, there's a whole different mindset because it's not going to last for 25 years. It's going to need to be upgraded in 2 or 3 years. And we really have to balance the financial aspects of that and say, okay, well, what do we put in place? How do we enable it to be upgradable? You know, just like all of our phones and software, how do we enable that to happen so we're not spending money over and over and over again? I think one of the key barriers is making sure that we're investing at the right spot.
Right now, the technology is moving very rapidly when it comes to vehicle-to-vehicle, eventually autonomous vehicles. My concern has always been that the policy usually takes longer than some of the technology, and we have to address some of those issues to make sure that all of the benefits associated with eventually autonomous vehicles are realized. And so those are things like making sure that the spectrum is available for vehicle-to-vehicle. Certainly spectrum's a very valuable commodity. Everybody wants to have a piece of it, but it's going to be very important for us to make sure that the current dedication of broadband will continue to be there for the auto industry. We're going to need to build sensors into our roads as well. In fact, I introduced legislation into the federal highway bill that now allows federal money to be used not just for steel and for concrete and standard building materials, but to also be used for the sensors that are really going to drive this technology. And what this means, we'll have bridges that will have sensors that will identify black ice and have the opportunity to tell your automobile there's black ice, and your automobile will automatically brake before you have any idea what's happening. It's incredibly exciting technology, but we have to have the foresight to make sure we're building that infrastructure in a way that allows that technology to be fully enabled.
In our projects, we often run across the issue that technology players, software players cannot work with an OEM. It all takes too long. The decision processes, the validation processes, they're all almost in their next generation of software already once an OEM has made their decision what to do. So here there needs to be an education how you can really work together. There's a reason why OEMs do it the way they do it. And the software industry needs to, try to understand, okay, there's a reason, there's maybe a common ground somewhere in between how we can make that happen together.
A few of the challenges in this industry for everyone will be the people. How will the public accept these new changes and differences in what we're doing? Then talk about the legislation. What's got to happen from a legal standpoint to allow people to either have autonomous vehicles on the road or deal with the issues associated with having autonomous and non-autonomous vehicles on the road. Then you have the insurance side. So what happens with the insurance industry and how is it impacted here? Are insurance companies going to go back to the driver, or is it the robot vehicle, or is it the manufacturer? Who owns what happens on these cars in the future?
So you're going to have smoother traffic, which will reduce commute times. You'll be able to put more cars on any square inch of pavement, which has significant implications of infrastructure, because that means we don't have to add extra lanes of highway, acquire extra right-of-way, try to move into cities and build expanded highway systems. That's going to save an awful lot of money, a massive amount of money, and certainly that savings could also be applied to the technology improvements necessary to make the system fully operational.
So when we start talking about autonomous cars, I mean literally taking your hand off the wheel and letting the car take control, we got a lot of questions to figure out. Probably more questions right now than we have answers. But when we get there, Well, history would say that we probably will. We went from the Model T to putting people on the moon. As a matter of fact, there are autonomous vehicles moving around on Mars right now. So I tend to believe that if we can do that, we can probably address the challenges that are facing us here on Earth.